It's a different product, right, that is able to go out to an even broader group of people. So, and the identical thing happened in Amberwave. But it's very difficult when there's success to get people to start thinking that the success is going to run out. Okay. Now, to be fair here, we started doing R&D on that, even though we couldn't get the kind of a broader recognition within the company that this is going to roll over. And we're doing two things. One is we're doing pilot projects with other countries because we could possibly generate the similar kind of thing in other countries. Colombia was very interested, etc. Right? But the other thing was something that we couldn't have done, and this is another backing up of the process. It turns out that doing this and that pH thing and everything else, we now know how to get arsenic out much more efficiently. Remember, the first product we didn't have to worry about that. The municipality drove us to make the technology even better. Well, that kind of, in a way, if I back up the process, starting in the technology bubble, you start to say, hey, I have a better arsenic solution. That means I can filter arsenic out in a smaller volume if I don't have to have it last 5 years, right? Why is that significant? Well, when we started, we didn't have enough technology space and we didn't believe that we could build small filters that took out that much stuff, right? Now you start to realize, do you guys have these pitchers that Brita? Do you know this company called Brita? Is that a product here? Brita? No.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. So Brita filter, which is this thing that you take water and you run it through into a pitcher, and it's just a carbon filter. It's activated carbon, which is the vast majority of these products that are these small compact things are just activated carbon. And as you guys probably know, the water guy will tell you, they don't filter anything. What they do is they change the valence of chlorine, because if your municipality uses chlorine, like in the US, that's where the product was born, the municipalities use chlorine to kill pathogens to guarantee that, even though they don't have point of use devices, after it goes through all the pipes and everything else, when it reaches you, they guarantee it's clean of pathogens by using chlorine. It's one of the cheapest methods, that's why they use chlorine. Turns out, by the way, that there's derivatives of chlorine that long-term cause cancer, because when the chlorine reacts, there's these other compounds that get derived. But it's a smaller effect, and it's much more loosely correlated than like arsenic, right? So it's pretty safe. It's overall very safe. So all municipalities, like in the US, use chlorine and that. However, the taste, like if you ever go to Florida, that's the worst place. They have like swamp water that the municipality cleans up, and then they chlorinate it. And if you go down to Florida, you drink that stuff if you're used to, different kind of water. First of all, you smell all sorts of chlorine. Second is you can kind of tell it's a little swampy. It's gross, right? So you pour through a Brita filter, and you don't have that smell, and it's very nice, right? But all it's doing is changing the valence of chlorine so that you don't get the sense of the chlorine. That's what it's doing. So most people don't realize Brita filters are not really doing anything, right? They're like a cosmetic product, right? So, but now after our technology thing, we start to realize we can sell Brita filters that actually do something, right? So this is very exciting. So Tom and I start working on this, and you can have different versions, right? You could have them color-coded for different regions. So if you're in Bangladesh or Central Valley, Mexico, you put more of the arsenic media in there, and then you put in some other stuff, because we know how to, after all that time, we know how to remove other stuff. So you make a kind of a generic filter, but then you can have like an arsenic heavy one, right? That can really take a lot more. And you could have a whole line of products like that, right? So it turns out that we see that product very early. The problem is that the investment to get that up fast enough to take over in 3.0, when people are having too much fun with the revenue coming from Mexico, is difficult, right? So, but the good news is that there is a pause, this rolls off, and then now the 3.0 has just been released in its first version, and so hopefully that'll be a really successful product. And it's got a different format. It doesn't come with a pitch or anything. You just put it right on top of any device. It turns out that we made it the way you use it, we made it more universal. You just put it on top of a glass or whatever, And then, you know, you can pack it up, it's compact. There's some good design elements in there. It's a direct consumer product, right? So business model shifted, technology shifted, and that's where the company is today. So, so that's the third iteration. I think we talked about most of this stuff, and I think we'll probably stop there because it's 10:30. Oh, I want to make sure about this. Just, I think you guys got this in lecture. But remember, not only were we backing up the process, but remember how the next wave, even for our own process, would start in different areas. Remember how the last TWI 3.0, that third S-curve developed from the technology. Because remember, the municipality made us do an arsenic product that was much better. And so the beginning of the iteration and the innovation path for TWI 3.0 started in technology. But remember, the second one started in implementation, right? Because remember, the business model wasn't working, right? So even within our own multiple iterations, remember that we're starting in different elements, right? So it doesn't matter where you start. And this is just, I wanted to get this across because, you know, you hear a lot about, you guys are doing technology push, or you need market pull. And remember that the model that we have, you need all of it, right? They're always pushing and pulling on all three of the elements, right? So there's no such thing as market push and market pull, because as you know, if I do, you know, so-called technology push, as soon as I get over to the market side, I change market, and then as soon as I change market, I go back to technology, and of course there's implementation, which, you know, this sort of picture of market technology push, market pull doesn't even have implementation in it, right? So I just want to make sure that, you know, you guys can see that for sure. The TWI story is a great story to show how it doesn't matter, you know, you can start in any element and you just end up in all of them. And in my own world, if I look at the companies I did, there's a company called Contour Semiconductor and TWI. The first iterations in those companies started in market. We were going after a particular market, right? And then in 4-power and amber wave, those are, we started with semiconductors technology, and then so we started in the technology bubble, and then we went to market and implementation. So it doesn't matter where you start, you always have to do this process, right? So any questions? You know, we didn't have time to kind of talk about transactional experiences, but I tried to hit upon that during the TWI thing as well, so that way we could cover that too. But any other, any questions about anything we talked about today, or anything with the class? No, sir?
We are still sleeping.
What's that? You're still sleeping. You're still sleeping. Yeah. Well, just remember, you can start in any bubble. All right.
I think so. Let's thank him for coming all the way just for 1 day. Okay, so we're gonna take a break. I'm sorry. Oh, there's a coffee downstairs. We're gonna take a break.
How about a full version of this presentation?
Oh, you want this presentation? Okay, yeah. I'll.
Is it possible?
Yeah. I'll give it to. We'll distribute it. Yeah. I'll have it distributed.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah. easy ideas to get money, but then they actually can't really execute because they're not doing the innovation process. And so we talk about the same kind. I know we gotta go. We have to go. Send me that. And then, yeah, I agree with you. We gotta get the word out of it.
I'll see you in Boston.
Where are you going?
Downstairs.
Oh, okay. All right. All right. See you.
Вы же еще не уезжаете, надеюсь?